This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 871, The Abyssal Asylum. Enjoy. So let's get into what everybody wants to hear about, the Jaws of the Abyss. We got to talk about this one first because I honestly feel like this is something that's undervalued on its current exchange price.
I mean, it's a Slayer drop. It's
probably where it should be, but I feel it's worth way more than it is right now.
I had mixed opinions about this when it came out.
Let me just say what it does first, and then you can say what that is.
Yeah, let's do that.
So this is the helmet, the Tier 85 melee power helmet. When you wear it, all bleeds that you put on your targets will increase the adrenaline gain by 2%.
It's specifically all damage over time, not necessarily bleeds.
Oh, okay. And it's 1% in PvP. And people were saying that we needed a way to raise adrenaline when we were using melee. Here it is.
This is it. They did it. Boy, did they do it.
Anywhere that I'm going to be using my masterwork now, I'm going to be using this helmet.
Yeah. I mean, I think I really like the design on this, right? When it came out, I had mixed opinions on attaching like Melee's adrenaline producer to a big like one purchase item, right? You just have this thing and it works. Obviously you have to repair it, but that's, relatively chump change. Yeah. But then, thinking about it, it fits very well into the theme, the historic theme of melee items, which is like God Swords, right? You buy the thing once and it's expensive, but then you have this really good thing. And then that's it. You just have it. You don't need to upkeep. There's no the magic and range equivalent of this are Insight, Fear, making Tsunami an ability you can use to produce a bunch of extra adrenaline, and range having Hydrix bolts, right? This is the melee equivalent of that, where instead of being consumed, it's just an item you have. That feels very melee to me, and I wasn't sure, but I think I like it in that theme.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a no-brainer for anybody who's going to be doing Slayer. You can say something more nuanced now.
I mean, it's a no-brainer if you're doing melee and you're not using this, and you can afford it. You've made a mistake.
110 mils right now. And I think at this point, coming into this discussion, Tanis, would you purchase this right now based on what we've been talking about? I don't even know how
I
much
wouldn't purchase it, but I would hunt it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, total tangent. I actually did get one of these on my fifth kill on task, but still.
Good for you.
Yeah, I just bought two of them, one for my main, one for the alt, because they were 110 mil at the time, and I said they might drop further, but this is worth it for me. And I imagine there's a lot of other people that have done the same, and that's why it's stalled price where it has. I think it'll probably land in a similar place to Cinderbane's. If I had to guess, based on the drop rate and the number of people that are going to do these as a Slayer task. Potentially a little higher, because people might prefer the Lords over these once they get the Slayer level to do so. Kind of hard to say. And of course the deal with this, kind of like the deal with Cinderbane's, is you want to use this. It's very easy to keep a lot of bleeds onto a target with melee these days, right? You've got a threshold bleed, you've got a basic bleed, you've got the armor. So we're about to talk about the armor spikes and the whip. They have a passive that is technically a bleed damage over time for these. I like it because, I mean, for one thing, just talking about what it does, right? It's for the most part, in most cases, it's plus 30 to 50% adrenaline on melee, which is humongous, right? That's 30 to 50% more really powerful abilities you can get out. That's an extra several thresholds a minute. That, is supporting your extra defensive usage. All of these things that is just, melee had a lot of abilities and a lot of special attacks that were really good that it just couldn't use, right? The cold cuts, the Leng blades, made it so you could use Destroy and Hurricane, but then you have 3 or 4 good thresholds, and if you're doing that, you can't use Berserk every minute, and it just rotation wise, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so this is they accepted that melee is the bleed combat style now, and they said we're going to lean into that, and and really make it different from the other combat styles in its own kind of unique way. But still, this is putting a whole lot of power into it.
I feel like it's a very important piece of the puzzle, and anybody who is working with melee is definitely going to want to have one of these. I'm trying to think of a situation where you might not want to use this.
There's not one. Frankly, it's got some like. The other thing was it only makes things better, and it makes so many things better, right? It makes a lot of items more useful, like things like the attacker's insignia from Barbarian Assault. It's like a 2 to 4% damage increase depending on your damage output. So like the thing is bad. Please, it's very, very cheap to upkeep, but it's not a lot of damage. It's less than a skirmisher. It's much less than a god book. And it has about a 40 to 50% uptime, which means that you're producing, again, each bleed you have on is 25% more adrenaline, effectively, over your base. And so it means you get 10 to 12% more adrenaline, which, is an extra threshold or two per minute, which might make it competitive with the god books, right? Like, they've made this kind of really niche item much better. Similar interactions, right? It synergizes really well with the Masterwork Spear. Your bleed's lasting longer means you get more basics that give you more adrenaline. So the Masterwork Spear got a big buff with this. The Exec Kill, the Zook Sword, obviously, like the special attack on that is a bleed. And the new passive on the Spikes and Whip extends the bleed from the Exec Kill Sword. Because again, a lot of people have the sword, I'm sad to say, in an EOF, so you can use it with the whip, but even if you don't, you can use it with the spikes. And so that'll extend the length of that special attack, and that special attack is a bleed that will give you increased damage with the helm. Like, they've done a lot of good things with these drops where they synergize all very, very well with the helm, and the helm increases the power, effectively, of all of these strong melee items. It's a really cool synergistic way to buff things, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, and, with that, I think it's going to be used practically everywhere. If you have the money, you'll get one when you're doing Slayer. If you're bossing with melee, you're definitely going to want to do that, though at this point, I don't know which boss you'd take melee to when you have two good options in
it's like
magic
anything.
Ranged.
We can't say it enough that you should play the game the way that you want to. You can play the game however you want to.
True.
In talking with David was going to be on the show tonight, right? And he unfortunately wasn't able to. But he was telling me kind of his thoughts on a lot of this stuff. That he's thinking that at places where it works, like melee is now potentially rivaling magic as a viable way to do hard mode Carapac. And those kind of things. And so, melee got a huge buff, and a large part of that is the helm. And the other parts, the next couple drops that we'll talk about help too. But the helm was huge. The helm gave melee what it's needed for a long time, which is just massively increased adrenaline gain. It's a little bit unfortunate that it's a high-level drop, but the price on it, I think it could be... This helm could have tier 1 stats, and it would still be worth well over a bill. People would pay well over a bill for it if it was rare enough to do it, right? They've made it common enough that everybody
that's what we were
can
talking
use
about.
this.
He said if this was on the Zuck table, it'd easily be a bill plus. You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.